US adults experience mental illness each year. Many conditions are treatable with therapy, medication, lifestyle changes, and also a combination of all of these. And today we are going to be talking about top 6 of the mental illnesses suffered by these people. First of all, anxiety disorder. What is anxiety disorder? A group of conditions involving excessive worry, fear, or nervousness, including generalized anxiety disorder, also known as GAD. Panic disorder, social anxiety, and phobias are also known as anxiety disorders. Prevalence and trends. Anxiety disorders are the most common mental health condition in the US, affecting tens of millions of adults annually. That means younger adults from the age 18 to 24 often have the fastest rising rates. Causes and risk factors, genetics and brain chemistry, stressful life events such as worry, finances, and peer pressure, high social economic pressure and uncertainty. Also, during the COVID-19 period, the trends and causes also skyrocketed. People were scared of what's going to happen after COVID. They're not going to die. And excessive screen time and disrupted routines can increase anxiety symptoms in you. Being on your phone too much can cause you to have anxiety disorders. And who's most affected? Teenagers like us, young adults. Women have more anxiety disorders than men. Marginalized to face discrimination against economic stress. The next one is depressive disorders. Depressive disorders include major depressive disorder and persistent depressive disorder, marked by persistent sadness, loss of interest, and diminished functioning. Prevalence and trends. Around 8 to 10% of the US adults report a mental depressive episode in a given year. National data suggests overall states of a depression increased from 2013 through recent years, especially among young adults from the age 18 to 24. Long-term studies of college students showed a steady rise in the depression system after 2016. Causes and risk factors, genetic vulnerability from the parents, chronic health conditions, economic strain, social isolation, and pandemic impact, again COVID-19. Who is most affected? Women, roughly twice the rate of men actually. Twice the rate of the ladies. Young adults and adolescents, again from 2024. Attention deficiency hyperactivity disorder, also known as ADHD. What is it? It's a neurodevelopmental condition characterized by inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. Prevalence and trend. ADHD diagnosis continues to be common in children and also affects many adults. Roughly 10 to 11% of the US children have either received an ADHD diagnosis based on recent surveys. Causes and risk factors, strong genetic components, brain structure and neurotransmitter differences, environmental risk factors such as parental exposure to toxic during pregnancy and low birth weights, screen time, sleep disruptions, low physical activity are also associated with high symptoms in children. Substance use disorder, what is this? It's the chronic usage of alcohol, opioids, or other drugs that causes significant impairment or distress. Problems and trends. Mental health and substance use often overlap adults with mental health conditions, show higher rates of substance abuse. Early mental health symptoms often precede substance problems, and an onset substance use can worsen later during psychiatric household. This means that when teenagers are using drugs, by the time they grow older, it will affect you mentally and physically, and you will not be able to operate without the use of drugs very badly. Causes and risk factors, self-medication or anxiety, trauma or depression, early onset of mental illness, peer influence, availability, and socio-economic stress. Meaning that if you give yourself medications without prescriptions, you can be addicted to drugs or trauma, like you are scared of something that happened in the past. And like you still want to take drugs just to calm yourself. Post-traumatic stress disorder, that's PTSD. A stress-related condition following exposure to a traumatic event. It's also known it can be fights, violence, or accidents. Prevalence and trends. PTSD affects millions of Americans and is also under diagnosis. Trends show trauma-related disorders have increased over recent years in clinical settings. Causes and risk factors. Exposure to violence, accidents, abuse, or combat. High stress environments. People who are mainly affected are veterans, survivors of traumas, and first responders, also known as police or the firefighters and others. Eating disorders. Disorders such as anorexia nervosa, bulimia, and binge eating disorder involve unhealthy eating behaviors and preoccupation with weight. Prevalence, causes and risk factors. Body image concerns, cultural pressures, genetic and personality traits. Meaning that because of eating disorders, means that when you think you're too skinny and you decide to eat more, And then when you eat more food, you think that you consider to reduce your food. That's not very good. You should be happy with where your body is. Overall mental health trends in the last 10 years. Higher reported rates of anxiety and ADHD diagnosis in recent years. Depression appears to have increased immensely among youth of our age. Self-reported mental health has recorded growth post-pandemic. Variations that occur by age, gender, and socioeconomic status. Factors contributing to this trend include COVID-19 disruption and isolation, economic uncertainty and job insecurity, social media and digital pressures on you. That's like on TikTok when you feel like, oh, this person has more than me, I want to be like this person, and then you start thinking about yourself as a negative person. That is what it is. Increased awareness and diagnosis, reduce stigma around mental health. A lot of people think that, oh, mental health is a joke, but it really isn't. You need to learn to understand yourself and know what they are going through. Common causes and risk factors contributors, that's consideration. Biological factors, genetic and brain chemistry. It can be in your family that, oh, people in your family are depressed. That means that we should look out at that person that they might also have the symptoms of depression in their lives. Life experiences, trauma, and also major life changes. Things like your parents used to beat you when you were small for no reason. Things like that can actually affect you rather than you. Societal and environmental. Economic stress, social isolation, and school or work pressure. You can be feeling pressure because somebody's doing better than you and you want to be like that person. But you should learn to accept yourself. Lifestyle changes, sleep disturbance, that is changing your sleep patterns randomly for no reason. Excessive screen time is likely to have depression, ADHD symptoms in you. Using your phone too much can actually cause of this. A quick summary. Anxiety in the last 10 years has increased, and the main contributors are stress, isolation, and awareness. Depression in the last 10 years has also increased. Its main contributors are stress, life stressors, pandemic effects, and so on. ADHD is more diagnosed because, and main contributors are awareness and screening. Substance abuse is tied for mental health, and the main contributors are self-medication and early risk. PTSD is rising, has more rising treatment cases, and its main contributor is trauma and exposure. Eating disorder is a steady / complex trend, and its main contributor is social pressure. Thank you. And if you have any of these illnesses, please make us